All right, welcome back. Before I get started, I'd like to thank those of you who leave me positive comments. I had some really nice ones today, and they sort of keep me going. So thank you. Now, what I'd like to do is something that's as practical as possible, and that's 2-5-1 progressions with really solid standard voicings that every guitar player has to know. And the reason I'm jumping into this is because I want to do a series that'll lead to your ability to read charts in the real book. If you don't have the real book, I would really strongly suggest you go out and get one because it's loaded with classic standards. You can get the latest edition on Amazon if you like. Okay, so guitar players are often relegated to a position of playing chords for a horn player or saxophone player or trumpet player, and that's really, that can be really fun. I mean, if you don't feel that you're quite ready to jump into jazz soloing, if you can play chords, it can get to the point where you can build a little combo and go through a bunch of tunes, and that's where I'm going to lead. So the first chord grouping that I'm going to start with is a 2-5-1 in the key of G. So here's the 2 chord, an A minor 7. It's an A minor 7, and it's derived, we look at it as being derived from the scale of G major. And then here's the D7. And here's the G major 7, the 1 chord. One more time. 2 chord, A minor 7, 5 chord, D7, and 1 chord, G major 7. Okay. Now with the 1 chord, I'd also like to give you the very practical G major 6. Just equally as useful as the G major 7, maybe even more so. So we have Now, underneath that, and I should really mention this, because we're in the key of G and because chords come from scales, I can't help but visualize this scale. Because the chords that I just played are derived from that G major scale, all right? Now, here is another chord progression that you can add in order to, just enhance the practice a little bit. So here we have the 2, the 5, and the 1, and then a secondary dominant, which turns around back to the 2. Or we can play the 6, right? Secondary dominant turning around back to the 2 chord. Okay, and now, so now what we've got is an A minor 7 chord with its root on the 6th string. A D7 with its root on the 5th string or the 2nd string, and a G major 7 or G major 6 with their roots on the 6th string. And then we turned around with that E7 with its root on the 5th string as the secondary and that moves back to the 2/5 once again. Now, technically speaking, how do I change if it, let's take a micro look at the change from A minor to D7. So what I do is roll my finger 3 down to the root and pivot my fingers around that root. What we try to do is never leave the fretboard. Don't change like this. Like that, right? Like where you're moving all your fingers off the fretboard. What you're trying to do is keep fingers in common. So you see how that finger rolls down, right? And you can also use the 5th on the bottom of this chord if you prefer, right? And so now from the D7 to the 1. Notice my baby finger guides and uses, and the rest of the finger pivot around. Rest of the fingers pivot around that baby finger. Guide, baby finger. See that? And then 2. Roll, guide, pivot. Guide, pivot. And so on. And the names of those chords, I'm sure you already know. A minor 7, D7, G major 7, G6, and the E7. Use that as an exercise. And underneath that, make sure that you know how to play your G major scale. And since we're going up, you can also play your G major scale in this position. Always be aware of where your root is. So again, what we're trying to prepare for is giving you the ability to read in real musical time a chord chart. All right, thanks for stopping by. And the next one I'm going to do is a different chord grouping. Thanks. See you soon.